In April 1992, a 24-year-old hiker, Christopher McCandless, walked into Alaska's snow-covered wilderness by himself. "This is the last you'll hear from me," he wrote a friend. "I now walk into the wild." His journal says that on the fourth day, he came upon a Fairbanks City Transit bus, abandoned on an old mining trail. He spent 110 days living off the land. He'd not spoken to his family for 2 years. Nobody knew he was there.
He didn't talk to anybody. That's a fact.
Yeah, no communication with anybody he knew.
Yeah, so he knew, I'm sure, that he knew that I and Billy would be looking for him, and we did. We tried to.
Chris ultimately succumbed to starvation and died alone. His body was found by hunters a few weeks later. They also found books filled with notes, 5 rolls of film, and a daily journal on the blank pages of a field guide to native plants of the Alaskan wilderness. His story, told in a book and a film, made him famous. Instead of disappearing, he became a legend. But for the people who loved Chris, it's always been more personal than that.
It's so peaceful.
Today, 3 of Chris's sisters have made the trek to the bus together for the first time.
One of the greatest misunderstandings people have about Chris's story as they know it so far, how much he was hurting when he left. And why that is.
You know, it's not just Chris, it's just a lot of things. Yeah.
We understood the things that haunted each other. And it's something that we didn't really share with other people.
But they haven't come to grieve. They say they've come to fill the gaps in the story. Fill them with family secrets they say they've been silent about for too long. Secrets that have torn the McCandless family apart. And that may help explain what brought Chris to this place, to live and to die alone.
Return to the Wild was made possible in part by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Every spring, young hikers still make the tough 2-day trek to the 142.
And something about being here brings out something deep within them.
For more than 2 decades, they've been leaving tributes to Chris inside the old bus.
This book is full of people who have, a lot of whom have traveled all across the world just to be here.
They're strangers who revere Chris McCandless. To them, his is the story of a young man just about their age who had the courage to slip the bonds of a comfortable middle-class existence, burn his money, and live apart. So committed to defying conventional notions of success, he ultimately gave his life for it.
Live before you die. You know, how many of us actually do that? How many of us actually live? Or do we just exist?
Many people who have cried at the bus, it's really inspirational for those people. Even just reading the logbooks in the bus, you see all of these different people who have made their way out to, you know, the middle of nowhere, Alaska, to see this place where McCandless lived and died.
But it may be that what draws so many people to Chris's saga is how little they really know about him.
When I think that people say, like, oh, I know Chris, it's really the sort of part of yourself that you see in Chris.
Years ago, there was another visitor to the bus, Sean Penn, who wrote and directed the film Into the Wild, a film that turned Christopher McCandless into an icon.
The heart of what was essential about the story to me was part of all of us, and it was everybody's story. There's a big, shocking, beautiful, dangerous, fulfilling world, and to dive into that swimming pool like that is something we all want to do somehow.
But long before he was a hero to so many people, he was so much more than that to his little sister, Corinne.
They were soulmates. They were meant to be together on this earth. He was her protector. Chris protected Corinne. They were incredibly close. Deep, deep, deep love for each other.
He wanted to get up to the summit, and he wanted to get to the hardest part and get there the most difficult way possible, but he didn't want to miss anything along the way. I still feel like he's walking with me sometimes.
They were literally the children of a rocket scientist. Walt was a renowned aeronautical engineer who worked for NASA. By all appearances, they led a charmed life.